Ever wonder when caring about your partner became a full-time job with performance reviews? Be me, 32, thought I found the one, smart, funny, shared my values about equality. Then she discovered emotional labor theory on Instagram. Suddenly, I wasn't her boyfriend anymore. I was her emotional labor contractor with KPIs, spreadsheets, and weekly check-ins. This is how feminist theory destroyed the best relationship I ever had and why I'm single now. But weirdly relieved, let me take you back to when things were actually good. Met Sarah 4 years ago at mutual friends party in Portland. She's 30, works as HR manager at tech startup, making $78,000. I'm marketing director at digital agency, pulling $95,000. We hit it off immediately. Same sense of humor, similar interests, both consider ourselves progressive, believe in equality and fairness. First year of dating is honestly perfect. We split bills evenly, take turns planning dates, communicate well. Sex life is great. We laugh constantly. Friends love us together. She moves into my apartment after 18 months, makes sense financially. 2-bedroom place in Southeast Portland. $2,200 monthly rent. We split everything 50-50. Seems fair since we make similar money. Cooking, cleaning, errands, we just do what needs doing. No scorekeeping, no resentment, just partnership. Year 3 is when things start changing. Subtle at first, Sarah starts following certain accounts on Instagram and TikTok. Lots of content about emotional labor in relationships. Posts about how women do invisible work. Men don't recognize mental load, planning, remembering, coordinating, all unpaid labor. She starts sending me these posts. This is so interesting. I read them. Sure. Makes sense that invisible work exists. Never thought it applied to us, though. We split everything fairly. Then she starts bringing it up in conversations more directly. Do you know how much emotional labor I do in this relationship? I'm always the one who remembers your mom's birthday. I track our social calendar. You just show up where I tell you. I'm confused because I didn't ask her to do these things. I can remember my own mom's birthday if you want. That's not the point. You should want to remember it. The fact that you'd forget without me is the problem. These conversations are happening more frequently now. She's reading books about emotional labor, gender dynamics, feminist theory. Author named Gemma Hartley, another named Eve Rodsky. Suddenly our relationship is being analyzed through academic framework. Everything I do or don't do is evidence of deeper patriarchal patterns. Month into this new awareness, she proposes fair play system based on book by Eve Rodsky about dividing household labor. We're going to map out all tasks and divide them explicitly. This will make everything fair and visible. No more invisible labor. We spend entire Saturday creating spreadsheet of household tasks. Grocery shopping, meal planning, cooking, dishes, laundry, cleaning, but also invisible tasks, remembering appointments, social planning, gift buying. She's identified 47 different tasks that need to be managed. We're dividing them equally, 23 for me, 24 for her. Seems reasonable in theory, bit bureaucratic, but whatever. Problem is, most of the tasks she's claiming are things I never cared about. Planning our social calendar. I'd be fine seeing friends spontaneously, remembering to buy cards for holidays. I don't care about cards. Coordinating with landlord about maintenance. I'd call when something breaks. But she insists these tasks exist and need doing, and if she's doing them, I need to do equivalent mental labor. So now I'm responsible for tracking our grocery inventory and planning weekend activities 2 weeks in advance and managing gift giving for both our families, tasks I never did before and honestly don't see the point of. But I'm trying to be supportive, trying to understand her perspective. Maybe I have been benefiting from invisible labor without realizing. First month with the system, I'm actually trying hard, setting phone reminders for all my assigned tasks, planning weekend activities, tracking groceries, buying cards. It feels robotic and weird, but I'm doing it. Then we have our first emotional labor review meeting. Yes, she actually scheduled a meeting to review my performance. She's made notes about tasks I didn't complete to her standards. You planned weekend activities but didn't check the weather. You bought groceries but didn't meal plan around what we already had. You remembered my mom's birthday but sent flowers instead of calling. I'm getting frustrated now. These seem like arbitrary standards. I did the tasks on the list. I thought that was the point. It's not just doing tasks, it's doing them with care and consideration. That's the emotional labor part, anticipating needs and consequences. So now I'm not just responsible for tasks, but for reading her mind about what care and consideration means for each task. This is feeling less like partnership and more like job with demanding. Boss. Month 3 of the system, I'm starting to fail at tasks. Not deliberately, just can't maintain this level of mental energy. I have actual job that's stressful, marketing deadlines, client demands. Coming home to spreadsheet of domestic tasks with quality standards is exhausting. Sarah notices my performance declining. Calls another meeting. You're not taking the emotional labor seriously. I'm trying, but this feels overwhelming and joyless. That's because you're not used to carrying mental load like I've been doing. But you chose to do a lot of these tasks I never asked you to. That's exactly the problem. You never thought about what needs doing. We're going in circles. She's frustrated. I'm frustrated. Relationship that used to be fun and easy now feels like constant work. Month 4, Sarah introduces new concept, emotional check-ins. Every evening we're supposed to do structured emotional labor exchange. She asks about my day and emotional state. I ask about hers, but it has to be active listening with specific validation phrases. Can't just say that sucks when she has bad day. Have to say things like, I hear you. That sounds really difficult. Your feelings are valid. She's reading from Emotional Labor Playbook. Literally coaching me on responses. When I share something vulnerable, you need to create safe space. Don't try to fix it. Don't minimize it. Just hold space for my emotions. These check-ins take 45 minutes every night. Feels like a therapy session, except I'm the therapist and patient simultaneously. Because after she shares, I'm supposed to share with same level of vulnerability. But honestly, most days I don't have deep emotions about work stuff. Sometimes I just want to eat dinner and watch TV, but saying that is emotional unavailability, according to her framework. Month 5, my friends are noticing changes. We used to have weekly game night, me and 3 buddies, play video games online, drink beers, just decompress. Sarah never had problem with it before. Now she's saying, game night is emotional labor avoidance. You're using games to escape emotional intimacy with me. 3 hours a week, you could be doing emotional check-ins or quality time. I push back on this. Game night is my stress relief. Exactly, you get stress relief while I'm still carrying mental load. If you need stress relief, we should do couples activities that benefit both of us. She wants me to quit game night and do yoga classes with her instead. Yoga is fine, but it's not the same as hanging with my friends. I tell her no. Game night stays. This is my boundary. She's hurt, says I'm prioritizing games over her emotional needs. Starts crying, saying she doesn't feel valued or cared for. Now I feel guilty for wanting 3 hours a week with friends. Month 6, sex life is completely dead. We haven't been intimate in 5 weeks. Every time I initiate, she's too emotionally exhausted. Because I haven't been doing enough emotional labor during the day, I can't be intimate when I don't feel emotionally supported. I need to feel seen and valued before I can be vulnerable physically. but her standard for emotionally supported is impossible to meet. It requires constant emotional attunement and anticipation, reading her moods, adjusting my behavior, providing validation. I'm not a mind reader, I'm just a guy who loves her. Or loved her. Honestly, at this point, I don't even know. The woman I fell in love with was fun and spontaneous. This version is exhausting and critical and never satisfied. Month 7, I try to have serious conversation about the relationship. We sit down. I'm trying to be calm and clear. I feel like we've lost what made us good together. Everything feels like work now, like I'm being constantly evaluated. I miss when we just enjoyed each other without all this structure. Sarah gets defensive immediately. So you miss when I did all the emotional labor invisibly, when you didn't have to think about it because I was handling everything. That's not fair. We both contributed before all this started. You just didn't see my contributions because they were invisible. She pulls out her phone, shows me Instagram post. It's about how men resist emotional labor because they benefit from women's unpaid work. This is literally what you're doing right now. Resisting accountability because it's uncomfortable. I'm trying to explain, that's not what I mean. But she's interpreting everything through this ideological framework, where my discomfort is proof that the framework is correct. It's circular logic that leaves no room for my actual experience. Month 8, breaking point, arrives. We're at her company holiday party. I'm trying to be supportive partner, talking to her coworkers, being social, doing the thing. She pulls me aside after an hour. She's upset. You're not doing enough emotional labor at this party. What do you mean I'm being social and pleasant? You're not tracking my emotional state or checking in with me. You haven't noticed I'm uncomfortable and offered to leave. I genuinely hadn't noticed she was uncomfortable. She seemed fine, laughing with colleagues, drinking wine. That's the problem. You're not paying attention to my subtle cues. I shouldn't have to explicitly tell you I need support. You should be reading my body language and emotional state constantly. We leave the party early, drive home in silence. I'm realizing this is insane. The expectations are completely unreasonable. I can't read her mind. I can't monitor her emotional state. Every second, I'm her partner, not her emotional support animal. That night I tell her we need to talk. I can't do this anymore. The emotional labor framework is destroying us. We've turned intimacy into obligation and partnership into performance review. I feel like I'm failing a test I didn't sign up for with rules that keep changing. She starts crying, so you're giving up on us. Giving up on us? I'm trying to save us from this system you've created. This system is just making visible the labor I've always done. Labor I never asked you to do, and that's making both of us miserable. We go back and forth for 2 hours. She's saying I'm resistant to growth and uncomfortable with accountability. I'm saying she's imposing arbitrary standards and calling it feminism. Finally, I just say it. I think we should break up. This isn't working. She's shocked, genuinely didn't see this coming. You're breaking up with me because I asked you to do emotional labor. I'm breaking up with you because you've turned love into a second job, one where I'm always failing and you're always disappointed. She's devastated, angry, goes through all the emotions. Accuses me of being typical man who can't handle equal partnership, says I'm threatened by her feminist awareness, says I benefited from her labor and bailed when asked to contribute. None of it lands because I know it's not true. I did contribute, I do believe in equality, but what she's calling emotional labor isn't partnership. It's emotional management of her needs at expense of my own. She moves out 2 weeks later, staying with friend while finding apartment. Those 2 weeks are tense and sad. Sometimes she's angry, sometimes crying, sometimes trying to negotiate. What if we just drop the spreadsheet, but keep the check-ins? What if I lower my expectations and you try harder? But I'm done. mentally checked out, just waiting for it to be over. When she finally leaves with her stuff, I feel a wave of relief. Guilty relief because I did love her, but relief nonetheless because the constant evaluation is over. First month after breakup is weird. The apartment feels empty but also peaceful. I can come home and just exist without performance. Review. Game night with friends resumes without guilt. I'm eating cereal for dinner some nights and nobody's tracking nutritional planning. It's small stuff, but it feels like breathing again. Friends notice the change. You seem lighter, man. Yeah, I feel lighter. Didn't realize how heavy it had gotten. Sarah's posting on social media about the breakup. Vague posts about men who can't handle strong women, partners who resist emotional growth. Her friends are commenting supportive things about how she deserves someone who values her emotional labor. I don't respond, don't engage, just let her process however she needs. Month 3, post breakup, mutual friend named Alex reaches out. Hey man, Sarah's been asking about you. Says she wants to talk about closure and understanding what happened. I think about it, but decline. I don't think there's more to say. We wanted different things. She seems to think you just couldn't handle equality. It wasn't about equality, it was about her specific version of it. Alex is quiet, then says something interesting. For what it's worth, I always thought she was exhausting. Even as her friend, she was constantly analyzing everyone's emotional labor. Made me tired just watching it. Good to know it wasn't just me who found it. Draining month 6, I start dating again casually. Nothing serious, just coffee dates and seeing what's out there. Meet woman. Named Katie, 28, works as graphic designer. We go on few dates. She's fun and easy to be around. No spreadsheets, no check-ins, just enjoying each other's company. One night, she asks about my last relationship. I give brief version. We had different ideas about how relationships should work. She was really into emotional labor theory, and I wasn't compatible with it. Katie nods. Oh yeah, I've seen that stuff online. Some of it makes sense, but some seems pretty extreme. Yeah, the extreme version is what killed my relationship. She doesn't press further. We move on to other topics. It's refreshing to date someone who isn't analyzing every interaction. Month 9, Sarah reaches out directly via text. I've been in therapy, working on myself. My therapist helped me see I may have been too rigid in my expectations. I'm sorry for making you feel like you were always failing. I appreciate the apology, but don't want to reopen things. I appreciate that. Glad therapy is helping you. I've learned a lot too, mostly about what I need in partnership, which is more spontaneity and less structure. She responds, asking if we could try again with better balance. I think about it for all of 10 seconds. I don't think so. I think we're better apart. I hope you find someone whose natural style matches what you need. She doesn't respond. That's the last communication we have. 1 year post breakup, I'm in relationship with Katie. It's been 6 months. We're taking it slow, but it's really good. We split things naturally, without scorekeeping. Sometimes she pays for dinner. Sometimes I do. Sometimes she plans weekends. Sometimes I do. We check in emotionally when something's wrong, not on schedule. It's partnership without performance metrics. And it feels like what relationship should be. My friends are happy to see me happy. Say I seem more like myself than I did in last year with Sarah. One of them, guy named Jake, brings up the emotional labor thing. That whole situation with Sarah was wild, man. She really had you doing spreadsheets and weekly reviews. Yeah, she genuinely thought that was what equality looked like. But it was just control disguised as feminism. Jake nods. I've seen that dynamic with other couples. When ideology becomes more important than actual relationship? Exactly. She was more committed to the theory than to us. 18 months post breakup, mutual friend Alex tells me Sarah's engaged to guy she met at work. Apparently, he's very emotionally intelligent. According to her social media, he does all the emotional labor. She requires good for them. Honestly, maybe they're compatible in that way. Or maybe he's just better at performing the role than I was. Either way, not my concern anymore. I'm building relationship based on mutual enjoyment, not mutual obligation, where care is freely given, not extracted through framework, where love is expressed spontaneously, not scheduled and reviewed. Looking back on those 4 years with Sarah, first 2 were genuinely good. We had real connection. Last 2 were slow, death by ideological rigidity. She took feminist theory about emotional labor and weaponized it into relationship control mechanism, where everything I did was insufficient, and everything she did was invisible. Martyrdom. It turned partnership into parent-child dynamic, where she was constantly teaching and I was constantly failing, where my natural way of showing love wasn't valid, unless it matched her theoretical framework. The saddest part is she genuinely thought she was creating equality, thought she was making visible the invisible, thought she was building better kind of partnership, but she was really just building prison of expectations that neither of us could be happy in now at 34, 2 years past that relationship. I understand what went wrong, so clearly, relationships need flexibility, spontaneity, grace, room for different love languages and contribution styles. What they don't need is spreadsheets and performance reviews or frameworks that turn care into commodity to be traded. Katie and I never track who did what, never schedule emotional intimacy, never review each other's relationship performance. We just live and love and figure it out as we go. Sometimes it's messy, sometimes unclear, but it's real and it's mutual and it's freely chosen. That's what Sarah's system could never create because you can't systematize love, can't spreadsheet intimacy, can't framework your way to connection. Those things require vulnerability and trust, not surveillance and scorekeeping. So yeah, that's my story about how emotional labor theory destroyed my relationship. Not because the concept is entirely wrong, but because it was applied with ideological rigidity that left no room for human messiness or different ways of caring or the simple joy of being together. Without constant evaluation, Sarah wanted equality measured in tasks. I wanted partnership measured in happiness. Those turned out to be incompatible visions, and I'm grateful I figured that out before wasting more years trying to meet standards that had nothing to do with love and everything to do with ideology. Now, I'm free to build something real with someone who wants partnership, not performance, and that makes all the difference. 3 years after the breakup, I'm 35 now, still with Katie. We moved in together 6 months ago, same neighborhood where Sarah and I lived. Sometimes I pass our old apartment building and think about those spreadsheets. How insane it all was, tracking emotional labor like quarterly earnings. Katie and I don't have systems or rules or scheduled check-ins. We just ask each other, "How are you?" when we actually want to know. Not because it's 7 p.m. and that's emotional labor time. Revolutionary concept, apparently run into Sarah's friend, Nicole, at coffee shop one day. She recognizes me, comes over to chat. "Hey, heard you're doing well. Katie seems great." "Yeah, we're really happy. How's Sarah doing?" "She's good, married now. They just bought a house." Nicole hesitates, then adds something interesting. "She talks about you sometimes, says you taught her something. About not being so rigid, about letting relationships breathe." That surprises me, thought I was just the guy who couldn't handle it. Her husband apparently pushed back on the emotional labor stuff early, set boundaries about what he would and wouldn't track, and she actually listened because she didn't want to lose another relationship. So maybe the breakup taught her something too. Maybe she's building something more balanced now. Hope, so genuinely, nobody deserves to be that exhausted. Not her, not her partner, not anyone Katie knows about the Sarah situation. I told her early on. She brings it up sometimes when we're talking about relationships. I can't imagine doing scheduled emotional check ins every night. Like, sometimes I'm just tired and want to zone out. Is that emotional unavailability or just being human? Exactly the question Sarah could never answer because her framework didn't allow for just being human. Everything had to mean something, signal something, prove something. Exhausting way to live. My younger brother gets engaged this year. He's 29, met a woman who's very into social justice stuff. Sounds familiar. I'm worried for him. We're having beers one night. He mentions she wants to implement fair play system. Dude, be careful with that. I've seen where it leads. What do you mean? Seems reasonable to split things fairly. Fair is good. Systems that turn your relationship into a job are not. Tell him the whole Sarah story in detail. The spreadsheets, the reviews, the emotional labor, scorekeeping, how it killed every bit of spontaneity and joy. He's quiet, processing. So what should I do? She's already talking about getting the book. Read it together, sure, but set boundaries early. Some tasks need doing, fine, but not everything needs to be a transaction. And definitely don't let relationship become performance. Review. He takes the advice seriously. I hope it helps. Don't want him to waste years like I did. Trying to meet impossible standards disguised as equality. 4 years post breakup, Katie and I get engaged. I propose on random Tuesday night at home. No elaborate plan, no scheduled romantic gesture. Just felt right in the moment, so I asked. She cries and says, yes, it's perfect. Later, she jokes, did you put propose to girlfriend on your emotional labor spreadsheet? Absolutely, been planning this for 6 months with careful consideration. We both laugh. But there's relief in the joke, relief that we can be spontaneous without guilt, that love doesn't need to be systematized to be real. Planning the wedding, Katie's approach is so different from what Sarah's would have been. She's excited about some details, couldn't care less about others. You pick the music, I don't have strong feelings. You sure don't want to coordinate this decision? Nope, I trust you. Surprise me. Imagine Sarah's head exploding at that level of delegation. But this is how Katie and I work. We each handle things we care about, trust each other with the rest.